the recording. Yeah, so let's have another. Yeah. So I'll tell you an interesting little story, Mick, before we crack on here. Look, so I was at Darlington, Arriva Darlington bus depot last week. I do the audits for Arriva. I've been doing it for ages now. And there's a lady comes up to me, and her name's Mandy, and she's in charge of the cleaning team. And she went, I've seen you and that other fella, i.e. you, I've seen you and that other fella the other day on YouTube. I went, what? She enjoyed what we were. I said, well, was it interesting? She went, it was all right. I said, what, just two old buggers chatting away? She goes, yeah, but it was it. And I thought, fine, that works for me. You know, it was really nice. And the audit went well. So that was even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right. The more you can get out there, and that's why, to be honest, I'm happy. Whatever you decide and whatever you want to do, mate, I'm cool with it. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And I said, I was just looking at that, the possibility of putting it, talking like we do now, which is getting a bit of interest. And then if that goes out live on YouTube at the same time, we can tell people in advance we're going to be talking, and then we might get a bit of interaction. And yeah, just going back to what I was talking about. After, so I put that two articles on LinkedIn this week about the gang that got caught, basically, and they didn't really get that much punishment, did they? Did you notice that? They got shit, wasn't it? They got nothing. Yeah.
When you consider that they've just under £1 million they've stolen, and they get within 18 months they'll be out free. Funny story, there was two thieves, high profile, well-known thieves in London, and they got caught with about £2,000 worth of goods in a purse. The police were called, the police turned up, and the police allowed them to pay for the stuff that they'd stolen.
Really?
Once they'd paid for that, they were let on their way.
Wow.
And I just think if that's the justice system nowadays, then it's not fit for purpose. And no wonder these criminals are walking all over. Rural crime, for instance, shops, it's just madness. There's no deterrent.
Yeah, well, there's no deterrent. And you mentioned shops there. There's a trend across all of YouTube and TikTok and the Facebook videos now. And I've watched a couple this morning where 4 or 5 people with masks, with normal big hoodies on, so you have no idea who they are, like just normal like coronavirus masks, really, the ones I watched this morning, into JD Sports. All of them have a big blue sack. It really was Happy Christmas, because they just went through and pulling in trainers, and and you think a pair of trainers 150 quid these days, top end stuff, and then they just walk out and they're gone. It was amazing. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy.
It is. I'll tell you what, someone put again on LinkedIn. Yeah. You probably noticed I'm banned from LinkedIn again, which is why I'm on that slightly different account.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So on the main one, I've been restricted because I called someone out for they were supporting terrorism. So I jumped on it, and I was the one that got reported.
Oh,
if that makes sense.
Charming.
But so someone had put on and it was a guy who'd walked into a pub. And started breaking into the arcade machine, to get the money out. And so there was people there videoing it, people carrying on drinking as if it was absolutely normal. Yeah. So I chipped in and went, why didn't someone just stick his head through the glass or cave his skull in with a stool? And someone came back and went, oh yeah, but you'd have been done. And nothing. I said, I tell you what, yes, I probably would have been done, but he would have thought twice about robbing going into a pub and robbing someone else again. But it's just the blatant, it's normal practice nowadays, which is staggering.
It's so true. And I told you the one I witnessed myself with those lads outside Brixton Tube Station a few weeks back. One guy attacked the drummer on his kettle drum, and instead people just got their video. People, like you say, people just like, oh, here's a video opportunity. It's mental, but it is still linked to rural crime, because it's that deterrence. If if I can go nicking and I get caught, yeah, okay, I've got £1 million worth of kit. So that gang got away with £1 million, and they're going to be out in what, a year max. Well, they're still going to have some of that. So, you know, maybe it has paid. Maybe crime has paid in that scenario, eh? Mental.
It is, and unfortunately, this day and age, crime does pay. We're in the wrong business, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, trying to do the right thing.
You got any of them balaclavas left?
But yeah, can you imagine if we went out and we actually taught these criminals how not to be caught?
Crazy,
they'd be making a flipping small fortune.
Yeah,
And maybe that's the way to go.
Well, we'll see how this rural crime business.
But yeah, no, yeah, but unfortunately, it's you know, the police system, the judicial system is not helping. You know, innocent victims and stuff like that. And that's why I always say I would never ever report a crime ever, because I would deal with it myself, because I know that something will get done. Because ultimately, if I report a crime, there's a real good chance that I'll end up being, you know, the perpetrator.
Yeah, it's very
and
true.
the person that actually did the crime turns out to be the victim.
Yeah, they often do.
That just seems to be the way it goes.
It does, and I recall, you know, when we've chatted to those the rural crime experts, the Australian guy Kyle Mulrooney, and the lovely fella from Southern Ireland, from Dublin University, Matt Bowden, and then Kate Tudor from up here in the northeast. All of their research, and people can see that on our Facebook page and the soon to launch ruralcrimes.com website. They can see all of that, and that's a real bother to the rural community. They actually think, well, what's the point? They know that the response times are slow. They're probably never going to see the kit again, and it looks like that the attitude of most, sadly, is not let's prevent it in the first place, which is where we come into it going forward. But well, I'll just put my insurance claim in. I'll get a new one, whatever it is, and then the thieves will probably come back and nick that a few weeks later as well.
You know, that's where that cycle needs to be broken, because you know, any rural crime now, just about the majority of it now will be that you'll ring the police up, report the crime, and instantly they will issue the insurance number, the crime number, because they know full well that they're not going to come out and they're not going to investigate it, because it's not priority for them, like, you know, and unfortunately that is just the way this cycle goes, and needs to be broken, because it means that the farmer's not getting any help to identify why it got stolen in the first place. All they're doing is reclaiming the insurance profit from it, because they're gonna pay out, but also they're gonna up the premiums on the farmer. So it's just a real nonsense of a cycle that unfortunately is not being broken at the moment, and that's where we need to break into.
No, we do. We need to, the big effort going into 24, get our message out there that, look, you don't have to be a victim of crime. You can take hold of this yourself, be proactive, and of course we'll give them the info and the tools to do that, and then hopefully they've got options to choose from, where they can either come and sit on the online course, which is good, and it's going to be a good course full of info, but then that naturally leads on to, you know, real face-to-face out on the farm, you doing your assessments and giving them the lowdown from the, you know, the expert, what the criminals will look at in that given, because then it's really bespoke to those guys then at their individual farm, get the best benefit out of it. Yeah. I was looking at a couple of things this morning. So what the criminals going to get up to at Christmas? Apparently, just after Christmas, fly tipping goes mental. So all the boxes, no one can be asked to put it in their recycling bin. Why not put it in the van, take it down in the lane, give it to the farmer? They like cardboard for Christmas, apparently. So they're going to find big dumps of shite all over their land. You know, I used to work at Lysit's insurance company for nearly 4 years, and they're a big national broker, predominantly in the agricultural sector, landed estates. and there are insurance policies available for cleanup costs for fly tipping, but not too many people actually take them out. And I don't think a lot of people are aware that once that crap is dumped on private land, it's the landowner's problem. Council ain't going to come and take it away. It becomes your issue straight away, which can be really, and if it's asbestos or other stuff, it gets really, really costly, cost a bloody fortune. So what have you been up to then, Mick? What's been happening? What's going on in the world over there?
I'm following at the moment the terrorists incident against shipping vessels in the Red Sea, that area.
Yeah.
So bear in mind that I used to work for SBM Offshore, and we used to operate offshore Nigeria, Libya, places like that. But never once did we put people on board our vessel. And what we did, a bit like we're trying to do with the farmers, is to educate the crews to make them more comfortable. We'd put 2 unarmed security people on board, and that was really just to take the pressure off the ship security officer, who although it's a title, they're not security people. It's normally the cargo person or something like that. So just to take the pressure off them, especially when you're working in a high-risk area. But what we did do is we made sure that the training was up to speed, and they had a real good lockdown procedure, and a citadel that was actually bomb-proof, to the extent that when we had a vessel built in Singapore, we actually had this lockdown area built within the vessel itself, so that if there was any sign of a piracy attack, they could all just charge down there and lock down and then just wait really until the security forces turned up. So no engaging with weapons and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been interesting because everything at the moment is throwing guns at it, and there's a security company just around the corner from me called Ambry Risks, and they're the biggest sort of offshore security company, bar none. They first got involved really when the piracy was going off on the east coast of Africa. So that but their policy at the moment is to put armed people on board vessels, and they seem to neglect that you actually need a bit more than just sticking armed guards on. And bear in mind that 2 rifles or 3 or 4 rifles are not much match to a missile when that's coming in at you and all this sort of stuff. So following that, and the reason I'm following it is purely because of my background. 15 years of keeping people safe offshore, and like I say, we think we know something because we never had a single security incident in Nigeria. Now, a lot of that may be a bit of luck, but it also means that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
To have, because there's not many organisations that can sort of say that, So yeah, watching with interest how security companies are going to be dealing with missile attacks.
Is that the way it's going now? Is it?
It is, because the Yemenis terrorism side of it are they even launched a helicopter raid on a vessel. Now, how do you defend against that? And the only defense against that is actually bringing military style vessels to escort the normal vessels, if that makes sense, because they've got the capability of shooting down a helicopter, whereas 4 or 5 security guards on board a vessel are not really in much shape, really, using their weapons to take down a helicopter. So yeah, it's interesting to see the dynamics are changing, the way terrorists are now.
I didn't realise that they were so well equipped, that advanced, coming in helicopters. And I've got the picture of the old Somalis in the tuggy boat with diesel fumes coming out of the back, trying to come alongside and get on board. But obviously they're moving on and getting smart.
Yeah, that's where the security companies used to come into their own really, with the armed guards on board. I suppose the old wooden skiff coming up alongside, and as soon as you open fire on them, it put them off somewhat. And away they went. So in that context, sometimes it's worth having. In Nigeria, a lot of vessels used to bring in armed people, but it wasn't our policy. I certainly didn't want armed people running around a vessel. One of our own vessels, because to be quite frank, it wasn't required. A couple of unarmed guys who could put an arm around the master's shoulder and this, that, and the other, did the teaching, and it was sufficient. And then you just use the state authorities' hardware really to deal with an incident. You just bunker down and lock down and do what you need to do, and rather than trying to engage, because you can't engage with a missile.
No, exactly. Is that those attacks on the up then? Because they kind of went off the radar for quite some time, didn't they? Are they back on? But of course, maybe it's just that they're just not in the news because there's more shootings now. Like we got the one that's just occurred the other day where, what was it, 12, 15 people killed or whatever. Nightmare.
Oh, the one in the Prague.
And it.
Again, looking at that, because it's non-terrorist orientated, if that makes sense, and because I'm probably being a bit skeptical, but I think the UK is due a terrorist incident at some stage, and we're probably closer now with the way the Middle East is going to major incident occurring, if that makes sense. Because I know the police the other day posted online where they stopped this lunatic radical down in the Brighton area, and managed to stop him in his planning phase. So not all the police are useless.
No, they're really good.
Are,
not the best resource, but I think you're right. It's probably more of people's just got to be on the guard, because it's more of a when's it going to happen, because it's out there and it's being planned, isn't it? At some stage it's going to hit. I guess one of the other things I was just reading on the rural crime side is the Christmas specials that people like to get up to, as well as the fly tipping, is to sabotage the hunts. We get the Christmas hunts in the countryside, and whether people are pro or against hunt makes no difference to me. But what they do is they're going out. I've been reading it this morning on a rural crime channel where they're putting nails and tacks and things all out where they know the hunts are going. They're setting traps and tacks and nail. They really get pretty nasty. And of course, their aim. They're there with the videos, and they try and bait and antagonize and engage so they can put everyone all over YouTube and Facebook and all that. So people in the hunts, if you're watching this, be aware that's what's going on, and that's what's going to certainly happen over the Christmas period for sure.
Nasty individuals, these anti-hunt people, and it's the same as the animal rights individuals. These are nasty individual, and I say that because my ex-wife at the time got involved in one of the senior hunt leaders. They were demonstrating outside a house in Hereford, and the guy that owned the house worked at a laboratory down the road that were doing experiments on beagles. Now, not best thing at all. But so rather than go down there, they went to his personal house.
Right.
And at the time, which was literally just around the corner from where me and my ex-wife lived, and they started daubing the walls. And bear in mind, it was his wife and his young daughter were in the house.
Right. Yeah.
So my ex-wife went round there, told them what a bunch of prats they were and this, that, and the other. Got hold of the family and then took them back to our place. Called the police. And off they went. And now these people are of a mindset where they don't care about the damage that they're doing. So supposed, let's look after animals, but let's stick a big load of nails on a thing, and maybe horses get hurt and stuff like
exactly,
that. So they're very Yeah, they're not nice people. They're very bitter and twisted. Their morals are totally, you know, misconstrued, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, and
And
very often their actions totally contradict what they state their aims are, and as you say, they end up, in some cases, killing and injuring animals that they're saying we're protecting the animals and the horses or whatever it might be, and foxes and all the rest of it. So, but anyway, yeah, that's something that people are no doubt getting coming to them soon near Christmas. And talking of which, are you all geared up? Are you up to much? Are you chilling, relaxing?
yeah, I've actually got corporate tickets to watch Leicester versus Bath on New Year's Eve.
Bloodbath. If it's
So
anything like,
me and my daughter are going to go down there.
well,
Yes, the three-course meal.
oh right, okay,
Three-course
cool.
meal at Leicester. Yeah, brilliant.
Oh,
So
that'd be really nice. And of course,
well,
if they play like they played against Newcastle, it'll be a bloodbath, not just bath. It'll be something else.
well, yeah, and well, I did notice that Bath got hammered again yesterday
Right.
by
Oh, good.
Bristol last night. Yeah, so they're stranded on 3 points at the bottom. It's a good job. There's no relegation, to be honest.
Oh, that bodes well for your thing then. That'd be a nice
Yeah,
day out there. That'd be
but yeah,
awesome.
for us here, it's catching up with two of the lads that are in the military.
Yeah.
Our Callum and Kieran, they're back. So we're all going to go round to my ex-wife's house on Christmas
Oh,
Day,
nice. Awesome.
which is
Does she
good.
know?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
told her?
My it's funny because you know I use Keely to do the breakaway and stuff like that. So when she goes out, she normally doesn't drink a lot because she's actively
Yeah.
sort of more aware of what most people are, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's because she was brought up in that environment, you know, with three brothers and a dad. And she actually went through our training when she was 7, if that makes sense. So
Good. Yeah.
so she's actually been brought up with this awareness type thing. And it's quite funny because again, reading on the news, there's a lot of people going around spiking drinks.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to defeat against, really. And one, because in pubs everybody's drinking. But if you was to have one individual in your group who was stone cold sober, not the best job in the world, to be quite frank.
Any volunteers? Hands up.
but just to do an oversight on everybody else and just keep an eye on everyone, especially females.
It is.
You know, if 6 or 7 females are going out drinking, always better to hire one person to just overview them.
Well, I think so, and again, that's really timely, you know, because at the moment everyone's out on the lash. There's big groups of people straight out, particularly probably yesterday. They call it Black Eye Friday, don't they? Yes, yesterday. People finish work, go and get absolutely wasted and all the rest of it. Guard down, total at risk, mugging, beatings, getting into fights, getting into stuff that's just got nothing to do with you most of the time. Pass, you know, kebab shop or chippy or whatever, and something kicks off. So I think you're right. Having that someone who's there and alert makes sense. I've got to stop talking to you. I tell you what, I find myself with all my London trips. I'm looking around, but I find myself. I do, and I'm really. It's heightened my own personal awareness. I never used to think. I find myself looking at people closer. I look at what people had. I never thought about this until after we started talking. You know, over the last few months. But I now look at people. I look at not what they're outwardly looking. But what are their hands doing? What do they carry? It's really quite interesting. And I also see things now that I probably want to know. I see people with bags open, pockets open, vulnerable, and it's quite fascinating. So thank you for that. Thank you for the free lesson.
I think once you get into that. Well, I think once you get into that mindset of situational awareness, security awareness, I suppose, it grows on you, and people automatically assume that everybody is situationally aware, but it's not. It's not a trait that comes naturally. Military people are probably more adapt to it than anything, because it's part of our job in the military and certainly the emergency services. But for the average Tom on the ground, the average person, knows nothing about it, and that's where they get hurt, if that makes sense. Because the majority of people, when they're walking, they're literally looking at about 2 feet in front of them, if that makes sense. And if
No, it
they was
does, and
just
I see it. And they got hoodies. They got the hoodies up, and they got the headphones in, or more likely they've got a mobile phone in the hand, and absolutely no idea what's going on in the world at all. It's mad.
And the biggest thing that we keep saying is how you look yourselves. If you and it's always having that edge about you. If you've got a bit of an edge about you, not many people will mess about with you. We do a funny thing on the training where, listen, if you've got a really good looking boy, go and get him into boxing and get his nose broken pretty quickly. I said, because everybody likes to fight pretty boys, but nobody likes to take on someone that's got a bit of an edge.
The thug looker, they never get beat up. It's brilliant. It's really quite cool that you've got your.
But it is,
Go on, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I must admit, because all the training we do are they're very light-hearted, if that makes sense. Because it has to be. It's not the nicest subject to teach, but you've got to make some sort of light notes about it and stuff like that, and it goes across well, with some of the kids we teach, and some of the adults as well, bringing in a bit of humour. Because as we start out at the very start, there are no nice ways of teaching people how to get yourselves out of trouble.
Yeah, but it could be life saving at the end of the day. Literally life saving. And I think that the training side of it, again, hopefully as we do more and more of these talks and we get stuck in, to the actual trainings next year, I'm hoping people will think, that's a great call. And whether it's farm workers, schools, business, there must be loads. I mean, I know you do it extensively already, but I think that's a great skill for businesses to have in particular. I'm just mindful of the time here. Then I'm just thinking, closing off with a few snippets. But what's the best thing to be advising people of as they go into their get pissed for the next 6 days over Christmas? Keep your head out the oven. Don't pick up the turkey when it's hot. I don't know what's the best.
Well, I think it's just to be mindful that it is that time of year where criminality goes up. While we're out Christmas shopping, so are the criminals. They're out doing their Christmas shopping. They're identifying. True, So do what you would normally do, but be a bit more mindful of the fact that people are on the streets doing their bad deeds. And if you're a farmer, start locking your stuff away and start shutting the barns up and locking them and locking your gates and just being more mindful, really, that criminality is on the rise at this time of year.
Exactly. And it's rich picking time.
Just be a bit more switched on.
Yeah, there's all that extra stuff around, presents and phones and money. You're right, it's rich pickings for the criminals. Before I stop the recording on the farm side, why not if I'm a farmer or a landed estate owner or an agricultural business, most will have probably closed down now for part of the holiday, but obviously it goes on, doesn't it? The animals don't stop getting fed and the business has to continue. Good opportunity, while it is a little bit quieter, maybe to step back and go, am I vulnerable? Get inside the mind of the criminal. Go and have a look at your own premises and see where you're at risk, and then bridge those gaps. But more importantly, keep an eye out for the training courses that are coming, and speak to your good self to get you out and have a look around. Do a proper hands-on assessment. It's not
absolutely. I think the more you understand how criminals operate, the easier it is to go about your business. If that makes sense, and that's really what we're trying to get across. And the other thing as well, I did group security for a company for 15 years. And in all that 15 years, I was on call 24/7, regardless of Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
And the reason being is scumbags don't have. They don't go on holiday.
No,
They're there all the time, if that makes sense. So
they're alert. They're
so
alert to rich pickings always. Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So when you lock your door, it's Christmas. You lock your door. That's when criminality comes and bites you.
Yeah, very, very true.